All right, welcome back to the Nikki Clarke Show. I'm your host, Nikki Clarke, and I'm always so excited to be here in this moment, celebrating all the wonderful things that, stellar individuals are doing in the world. They're leaving their mark. They're leaving a positive impact in their community work or their businesses. And I've really had the pleasure of working with this gentleman in Toronto when he was living here. And I know he's an upstanding man and just very successful in everything that he's involved in. So I am so excited to introduce a longtime friend and real estate specialist out of Florida, the US of A, David Powell. Welcome to the show, David.
Wow, thank you. That was a very great introduction for me. It's been a while and we've been good friends. And
Yeah.
thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show, Nikki.
Thank you so much for being here. I know you're very busy, and I would love the audience to know a little bit about who you are and how it's been a wonderful journey for you leading to this huge success that you're involved in now in real estate. But how did it happen? What's your story?
Well, my story is that, of course, we're friends. I was living in Toronto, Canada, the home of the Raptors, 2019 NBA championships. And this journey for myself kind of did start in Toronto many years ago. It was just trying to figure out how to make that change. And when I left Toronto, I was there as a photographer. I worked for Elite Magazine. I did weddings, I did shows, I did events. So when I came to United States and I met my wife, it was a transition for me to figure out, should I still continue in the same field I was back in Toronto, or try to reinvent myself? And that's what I tried to do, reinvent myself for the things that I thought I wanted to do in the past. So it started off with photography, real estate photography, then it shifted from that point, and it shifted really quickly just to becoming an agent. So while I was in doing this photography is when I started to meet with clients, and they're asking me, thinking that I was a realtor, but I was not. But it just put a light bulb in my head. Maybe this is the time for me to make the change. And that's where I started. And that's where I became, took time to do the state exam, took time to craft myself and learn about real estate here in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really outstanding to transition that way, because in any type of career change, it takes a lot of courage, right, to go on the other side, because sometimes you may not always have the answer of how things are going to work out, because you've been in a milieu for so long, right? And then you venture out into something and you're like wildly successful doing it. So I mean, that is amazing. But like I said, it's a real testament to your character of just being fearless and just going for it. And I mean, obviously, like, you took the steps and you studied, you researched, and you prepared yourself. But a lot of people do that, but they still are figuring it out. But tell us, like, what was the secret to your success in managing real estate? I mean, especially during this time now, where so many businesses have been challenged with all the parameters and limitations. How have you done it and stayed successful?
Well, first and foremost, the greatest thing about real estate, people have to live somewhere. We're not going to be living under bridges. We need to have a full concrete blocks construction home to live under, just kind of like the story of the Three Little Pigs. We have to make sure that we're in something that's going to work. Throughout this time period where things have been difficult, we've been in our house, we've kind of just cuddled up inside trying to figure out what to do. And that kind of happened to me, but I've already was in that transition to make that change. But as soon as everybody felt like, it's time to get out, it's time to go back to work, everybody got out there and started working, and people started to go back to their normal lives, which was rotating and changing. So it comes to everyone's lifestyle is different. So what could happen is it's time for my child to go to college. So now the family probably want to move out to that location. So it's always a movement. It's not just here in the United States or across the entire world. People's got to move again. So for myself, then the real estate never stopped. The phone calls never stopped. They still kept coming in. People wasn't sure. So then it was for me to educate them where we're at right now. So we know right now we're at basically in a seller's market because the inventory is low. Because we were locked up for such a period of time, there was nothing moving. There was no builders building the bricks, the roofing materials, anything it takes to put together a home was put to a halt, which made a strong impact in the real estate. So we're just beginning to really feel what's really happening. And we don't know exactly what the future holds, but we know that it's always going to be that everyone needs a home.
You're so right. I mean, it's identified as a physical need, food and shelter. But the offerings of your shelter is just, they're beautiful. I've seen some of the homes that you've showcased and provided service for your clients. So let's talk about the name of your real estate company and who are the members of the community that you serve.
Right. So the real estate company I was with is called Villa Home. It's a mortgage group based, basically start as a mortgage group based in the United States. They're called the Carrington Group. They branched off and they made this little group called Villa Home. So it's spelled VYLLAHOME.
A little different.
They're located,
Villa.
yes, Villa. It's a little bit, but that's a unique way of sometimes branding yourself, is just being unique. Yeah. So with Villa Home, I stumbled upon them, wasn't sure when I got my state license, where I want to go, but Villa Home provided for me the education, the knowledge. They provided me the materials and allowed me to grow within myself and help me to grow when I needed answers. So even though for myself, of the years of experience that I have, it's the other years of people that have been around 30, 40 years, and I go back to them and I require their knowledge, and they help me along the way, especially when it comes to difficult transactions. That helped allow me to grow, allow me to learn from my mistakes, and allow me to be successful in what I'm doing.
Okay, excellent. So can you tell us about a family that you work with and the type of interaction you had leading them to handing over the keys to their dream home? What was that like? Maybe in the beginning, what was that like for you? Like, how did you feel when that happened and you see the reaction of their joy when they move into their new home?
So that's the greatest thing about purchasing a home, especially when it comes to a first-time home buyer or somebody's moving to a new or bigger home. It's an exciting moment. And it feels good to me knowing that I can able to help them during that transition time when they're making a change in their life. So for me, it started off with one little family. They moved from New Jersey, they moved to South Florida, and they were living with their in-laws. Sorry, they were living with their sister. And they were trying to figure out what to do because they can't live in their sister's house for so long with this little baby. They're a married couple. Yeah. And it was just over a chat of dinner, talking to them, and they explained their needs. And I was like, hey, I can help you find something. We got them started, got them a mortgage pre-approval. We started looking around at different homes in this aggressive seller's market, and we found them something that's going to work with them. And for now, they're happy. I can call them on the phone. They gave me great Google reviews, and that relationship is still there. And that's the thing I do, is keep good relationships so that I could build other relationships. They could tell their friends, and so on and so on and so on. And I get more referrals that way.
Absolutely. Well, they say, word of mouth is 10 times more powerful than paid advertising. So it really pays to do a great job phenomenally, and I can see that is what is the case for you. So in terms of just your life, how has it been transformed by pursuing this passion project?
Well, before I was working a 9 to 5, this particular job in real estate sometimes will carry you past that time. Sometimes it will carry you on the weekends. It's not a consistent check. It's everything is obviously based on commission-based work. So you put in the work, you get the results in the end. So for myself, that change for me, it was about putting in the work. And there are some times where my wife and I were sitting in Jamaica, and in Jamaica, they were like, Dave, what you doing? I have a transaction right now. I'm working with someone, in Cali, Florida. We're trying to close on a deal. So all those things will allow me to still make money while I'm traveling. So vacation, I stayed a few minutes to myself to make this happen. I love what I do. I have fun what I do. And because you love it, it makes it easier to work with it. So it has changed my life for the better. I feel loved, I feel appreciated, I feel so much better. And I've learned each and every single day how to get better at what I do.
Excellent, excellent. So I wanted to just kind of ask if you could provide, some encouragement for people who are trying to purchase their first home. What are the first things they need to do to prepare themselves for home ownership, to do the transition from rental to ownership?
Well, the biggest thing, you have to really sit down and look at your budget. That's where it primarily starts. So it's renting could be for somebody, and that will be probably their only goal. Purchasing a property, whether it's a condo or maybe buying land or a house, it's not for everybody. For somebody who says, this is going to be my home for the next 5 years. So you have to know. So if you're working for JetBlue and you're all over the place, maybe it's not for you. Maybe the rental is for you. But the ideal of taking that person and explaining to them, knowing their budget, understanding if this is what they really want, then I move from there. Because I'm not going to go there and just basically just drag them in there and get a pre-approval and they're not happy. I want to make them happy. So once they figure it out that they've got the budget, they figured out what they wanted to do, next we got to do is make sure they take it to the next step. The next step is to find that home. Everybody wants that castle. It may not be the first castle you start up with. It may not have all the bells and whistles, the porcelain floors. All those things take time. We got to figure out what your needs are. And I sit down now. Once we figure what your needs are, we try to stay on that line. So as an agent, the biggest thing is to keep them focused on that line, because quickly they can transition. The wife will say, you know what, I'm not liking this neighborhood. I'm not liking the pictures on the wall. However, let's focus. Those pictures on the wall are not yours. They're the previous owner. They will come down.
Yeah.
So,
Use
and that's the thing.
Yes,
exactly. You have to use your imagination. That's where it comes in. Sometimes on the side, the husband and wife will have a chit chatter and fight over amongst which is the right property or not. The husband may be cool with it. The wife may be not so happy with it. So the idea is once we balance them out, now we got to take them through all the steps, because once we got the pre-approval going, now we can look at houses. Now we were looking at how we find a house we want. Now we got to put a contract in, and we have to show them a contract. But the contract is quite lengthy. It's not there to scare the client. It's there to protect them as well as protecting the seller. So it's pretty straightforward. So when I look at the contract, I have to go through different classes to understand it. And I was able to explain this lengthy contract to my clients is to let them know, don't be afraid. I explain each and every line to them so they understand the process. And once they understand that part, then they feel comfortable that you're signing. Then they feel that even though when someone signs a doc, they feel that you're locked in. You're not necessarily locked in. There are ways to actually come out of a contract. And I'll show you that we have two choices when you get a contract. You see a place, you make an offer, you put in an escrow deposit, whatever amount you want to put in. Once we get under contract, now we have to have a home inspector come in there and look at the place. You find something wrong with the home inspection, then you could say, that's it, walk away. Then you have an appraisal contingency, and that's when a lender comes there if you decide to go for a lender, and a lender comes in and looks at the property, make sure it's worth its value. If it's worth what it is, then we move on. If it's not, there's a problem. We need to come out of pocket for the rest of the money, etc. Then once we get that part, then we get to the part where we're going to ask for things to be fixed. We may ask for credits at closing. We may ask for just a cleanup before we come in. We can ask for almost anything. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but at least you can ask that seller what you want as a buyer. and once we finish that part as the buyers I'm talking about, then we go back in and take a look again before closing, go back to the lender, sign out some forms, and by the time, and this is a 30-day process, maybe a 45-day process, and it's time for closing, I walk up there and I'm really happy to give you the keys, because that was several weeks of us working, grinding, looking for houses. That was several weeks of us, putting together finances and making sure that you need to be where you are. Because the worst thing you want to do is you feel happy, you bought this house, then turn around and spend money you shouldn't spend, and it changes your credit score, changes everything when it comes to buying this house at the end, and we could potentially lose it. So my idea is to balance you throughout the whole process and make you understand each step. I mean, there's many steps involved in it, and I break it down for you in simple terms, nothing complex.
I love that. Thank you so much. That was very informative, for those who need the resources and the encouragement too, to take that big leap to home ownership. So thank you so much for breaking it down for us to understand. So David, I really want to thank you for your time. I appreciate your knowledge, and I'm really very grateful that you're here and you're doing so amazing. So congratulations to all your success. So tell us, how can people, oh, you're welcome. Tell us how people can meet you on social media. Where can they go?
So on Facebook and Instagram, it's keys2myflorida.com of the website. So Keys to My Florida, Keys, K-E-Y-S-T-O, My Florida. And you'll see my face there. You'll see everything about you need to go, and you go to the website. There's all information there to walk through every step of the process. You can always call me anytime at 954-895-7650. It's my direct line. And I'll be glad to help you. I don't care what state you're from. I don't care what country you're from. You can buy property anywhere, especially here in South Florida.
Yes, and for those who have to endure harsh Canadian weather, winters, maybe you can spend those winters in Florida. So contact David and he'll set you up. David, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So all the best to you, and we'll keep in touch.
I appreciate you, Nikki Clarke. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.